Day in January, and the terms of representatives shall begin on the first Wednesday in January succeeding their election, and extend to the first Wednesday in January in the third year following their election, and until their successors are chosen and qualified. Section 3 of Chapter 3 of the General Laws provides that on the first Wednesday in January following a state election, between the hours of 10 in the forenoon and 12 at noon, the persons whose names have been returned as members-elect of the House of Representatives shall be called to order by the oldest senior member present, who shall be the presiding officer of the House until a Speaker is chosen or the House otherwise determines. An examination of the records in the office of the Clerk of the House discloses that Representative-elect Kevin Honan of the Brighton section of the City of Boston and the 17th Suffolk District, who has served in the House from 1987 to 2021, inclusive, is such senior member. Accordingly, I have the honor of introducing Representative-elect Honan, the Dean of the House membership, who will be your presiding officer until a Speaker is chosen. Representative Honan.
First annual session of the 192nd General Court will now come to order. Would all members, court officers, and guests please rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all. You may be seated. It's an honor for me to be here to welcome all of you to the 192nd session of the Mass General Court. I want to wish everyone a very healthy and happy New Year. 60 years ago this week, John F. Kennedy came to the State House before heading to Washington to become the leader of the free world and to take what he referred to as that high and lonely office. In his speech that day, which we call the City on a Hill speech, the President-elect spoke of Massachusetts, his home, and his words remain true still today. Its leaders have shaped our destiny long before the great republic was born. Its principles have guided our footsteps in times of crisis, as well in times of calm. Its democratic institutions, including this historic body, have served as beacon lights for other nations as well as sister states. Today, as we begin our work anew here in Boston, with a new administration coming together in Washington around a country divided and struggling over racial issues, economic insecurity, and the health crisis of our lifetime, the Commonwealth and the country need that city on a hill and all of us more than ever. To the newest members of this esteemed body, congratulations and welcome. As you enter the building and this historic chamber every day when the pandemic ceases, always remember the path that brought you here, the people and places we all represent. As we all know, campaigns tend to build families which encompass our real-life families, friends new and old, neighbors, volunteers of all kinds. I can attest that campaign families stay around for many years, and we are all blessed because of that. In the State House today, you will join yet another family, one of unparalleled camaraderie and friendship, characterized by mutual respect and collaboration, regardless of party affiliation. Here you will spend long days and nights working tirelessly for your constituents and the Commonwealth. For me, it has been the greatest honor of my life, and I hope it will be for you as well. As state representatives, we are the closest part of government to the people of the Commonwealth. The framers of our historic state constitution made it so. Being here to serve means being here to help. So when the calls for help come from your constituents, we must always answer and endeavor to bring hope where there is despair and light where there is shadow. There is no greater responsibility we share. On this fortunate journey of public service, we are joined by so many who help along the way. Thank you to all the dedicated staff that keep this building running, the House Clerk and his staff, the court officers, the park rangers, and all the legislative aides and committee staff. You are collectively the heartbeat of this great building and its mission, and we are grateful for your partnership. To all of you, our new members and long-serving members, your families and friends, and to everyone who helped you on your path to this office, congratulations and welcome to the House of Representatives. A communication from the Secretary of the Commonwealth relative to the returns of the votes for representatives.
Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Secretary of the Commonwealth, State House, Boston, January 6, 2021. To the Honorable House of Representatives, I have the honor to lay before you the returns of votes cast at the election held in this Commonwealth on the 3rd day of November 2020 for representatives in General Court in the several districts, together with schedules showing the number of ballots which appear to have been cast for each person voted for. These returns have been duly canvassed by the Governor and Council and are now transmitted for examination by the House of Representatives as required by the Constitution and general laws. Very truly yours, William Francis Galvin, Secretary of the Commonwealth.
In the hands of the clerk.
Ordered that the returns of votes for representatives in the several representative districts of the Commonwealth be referred to a special committee to consist of 3 members.
Question comes on the adoption of the order. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The order is adopted. The chair appoints Mr. Moran of Brighton, Miss Peisch of Wellesley, and Mr. Jones of North Reading. Members will come to the well of the House. The members will come to review the documents and sign off. Okay. Yep. Okay. This Peak of Provincetown will take the place of Miss Peisch of Wellesley. Thank you. Okay. Wait a minute, he's got report of a committee.
January 6, 2021, the Special Committee of the House, to which had been referred the returns of votes for representatives in the several representative districts of the Commonwealth, reports thereon that the persons named therein had been duly elected.
Mr. Moran of Boston moves suspension of the rules. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The rules are suspended. Question comes on acceptance of the report. All in favor say aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The report is accepted. The House will be in a brief recess. Members, please take your seats. The chair recognizes the Sergeant at Arms.
Mr. Speaker, His Excellency,
The Sergeant at Arms will admit Governor Charles Baker, Her Honor Lieutenant Governor Karen Polito, and the Governor's Council. How you doing, Governor? Governor, you got a really good idea. Please welcome His Excellency, the Governor of the Commonwealth, Charles Baker.
The Governor will now administer the oath of office to the members in the chamber.
So first of all, let me just start by welcoming you all back to the chamber. I realize that it was about 20 minutes ago that you left, but I just want to say on behalf of the Lieutenant Governor and myself how much we appreciate the work that was done over the course of the last session, and especially the kindness and the courtesy that the members of this chamber showed to us and to members of our team as you worked through the issues that we all dealt with during the course of this pandemic. I do want to say congratulations to Speaker Mariano. Congratulations to you, and we look forward to working with you and your team. And of course, I do want to say how much we appreciate having Councilor Devaney and Councilor Jubinville with us today. And I know I speak on behalf of both the Lieutenant Governor and myself when I say how much we appreciated your 2-minute drill. It lasted a little longer than 2 minutes, but it was a heck of an effort, folks, and we really appreciate the fact that so many important pieces of legislation found our way through both chambers and onto our desks during the end of that session. And with that, I would like to ask all members present to stand and to raise your right hands and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and will support the Constitution thereof. I state your name. Do solemnly swear and affirm. Solemnly swear and affirm. My fault. That I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent on me as a member of the Massachusetts House of Representatives. According to the best of my abilities and understanding, agreeably to the rules and regulations of the Constitution and the laws of this Commonwealth. So help me God. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States. Congratulations and God bless and good luck.
The Governor will now administer the oath of office to the members of the House participating remotely from the 1st Division.
So members of the 1st Division, please stand. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Michelle Silva,
Do solemnly swear that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and will support the Constitution thereof.
and I will support
thereof.
So help me God.
So help me God.
So help.
I state your name.
I, Michelle
Gordon.
do solemnly swear and affirm
Do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will faithfully and impartially
And faithfully
and impart
discharge and perform
Discharge.
perform
all the duties incumbent on me
all the duties
on me
as a member of the Massachusetts House of Representatives,
as a member
according to the best of my abilities and understanding,
according to my abilities
agreeably to the rules and regulations of the Constitution
I, Paul Schmidt, do solemnly swear and affirm
and the laws of this Commonwealth.
that I will faithfully and impartially
So help me God.
discharge and perform
I state your name,
all the duties incumbent on me
do solemnly swear
as a member of the Massachusetts
that I will
House of
support the
Representatives.
Constitution of the United States
That I will uphold the Constitution of the United States.
According to the best
Congratulations.
of my abilities and understanding. Agreeably to the rules and regulations.
Okay. Participating remotely from the second division. Members of the second division, use your stand, raise your right hand.
Is that us? Is that
Repeat
second
after me.
division?
Okay.
I state your name,
I, Timothy
I, Michael J. Soder,
swear and
do
affirm
solemnly swear
Swear and affirm
Do solemnly swear and
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
I will pledge allegiance
to the Commonwealth of
to the
Massachusetts
Constitution
to the Constitution
and will support the Constitution thereof.
and will support the Constitution thereof.
for the Constitution thereof.
So help me God.
So help me God.
God. Help me God.
I state your name,
I, Timothy R. Whalen,
do solemnly swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will faithfully and impartially
that I will
that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform
discharge
discharge and perform
Discharge and perform
all the duties incumbent on me
the duties incumbent
the duties incumbent upon me
as a member of the Massachusetts House of Representatives,
as
as a member of the Massachusetts House of Representatives,
House of Representatives,
according to the best of my abilities and understanding,
according to the
according to the best of my abilities and understanding,
agreeably to the rules and regulations of the Constitution
agreeably to the rules and regulations of the Constitution
and the laws of this Commonwealth.
and the laws of this Commonwealth.
So help me God.
So help me.
So help me God.
I state your name,
I, Stephen
I, Timothy R. Whalen,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
They just got in from school.
She looks
The governor
beautiful.
may now administer the oaths of office to those members participating remotely from the 3rd Division.
Hi, May.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everyone.
So could all those in the 3rd Division stand and raise your right hand and repeat after me? I state your name,
James Hawkins.
do solemnly swear that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and will support the Constitution thereof, so help me God. I state your name, do solemnly swear and affirm that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent on me as a member of the Massachusetts House of Representatives, according to the best of my abilities and understanding, agreeably to the rules and regulations of the Constitution and the laws of this Commonwealth. So help me God. I state your name, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the
Constitution of the
United States.
Congratulations, 3rd Division.
The governor may now administer the oaths of office for the members from the 4th Division who are participating remotely.
Will the members of the 4th Division stand and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and will support the Constitution thereof.
And will support the Constitution thereof.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I state your name.
I, William Gallo,
Do solemnly swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform
discharge and perform
all the duties incumbent on me
all the duties incumbent upon me
as a member of the Massachusetts House of Representatives,
as a member of the Massachusetts House of Representatives,
according to the best of my abilities and understanding, agreeably to the rules and regulations of the Constitution
to the Constitution
and the laws of this Commonwealth.
and the laws of this Commonwealth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I state your name.
I, William Gallo,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
Congratulations. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Governor. It's my honor to now introduce Her Honor, the Lieutenant Governor of the Commonwealth, Karen Polito, to say a few words. Karen served here.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me first start by saying congratulations to Dean Honan. That's fantastic. Happy to see you take on this role, and you obviously remember the role of the position from the former Dean Sciascia. I do want to acknowledge Speaker Mariano. I am so happy to continue the Italian tradition in the role of the Speaker. And I just want to congratulate you coming from a position on the school committee in Quincy and rising up to the ranks of Speaker. It's clearly a proud moment for you, your family, and your constituents, and for this body. I do want to also just acknowledge the historic nature of the assembly of a new membership for the House of Representatives and the unprecedented nature of this oath of office. To all of the staff for coordinating this, this was no easy task, so congratulations to all of you. I just want to share with you, I'll always remember the oath of office when I was first taking that as a member of this body in seat 151. And I remember the chaos associated with coming to this room and how we were all fighting to get chairs crammed in between the stationary chairs and finding places for your family to come into this room. Even though that is not what is happening today, this moment is so important to each one of you and to your families at home. And I just personally want to say thank you for your service. It is such an amazing honor to serve as a member of this body, and to be able to serve in ordinary times is an honor, and to serve in extraordinary and challenging times like this requires the dedication and the discipline and the collaboration that we are so proud of in this Commonwealth, being able to work together across party lines in a collaborative way to get stuff done. And that, I think, is what I'm most proud of as we come to this body today. And I'm proud of the fact that what we do on big things like policies and changing laws and passing budgets are all important. But it's the work that each one of you does in your districts for the people who rely on you that matters most. And I want to just close with saying what enormous pride I have in the sense of honor, but this enormous respect for each one of you, for your families at home, and respect for this institution, and respect for the manner in which we conduct ourselves in this great Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I wish you good health. That's all you need to guide you in the work that we do together. I'm so proud of you, and I look forward to a great year ahead. Congratulations to each one of you.
Thank you. Members and guests will remain standing as the Sergeant-at-Arms escorts Governor Baker, Lieutenant Governor Polito, Governor's Counselor Devaney, and Governor's Counselor Jubenville from the Chamber. Thank you all for joining us on this day. Thank you, Governor. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for being here. The House will be in a brief recess. We're transitioning into the telephone lines, so it'll just take a little while, working with Mission Control here. Thank you. Members will take their seats. Mr. Wagner of Chicopee offers an order that the clerk will read.
Ordered that the House proceed to the election of a Speaker, and that the election be held in the following manner. The roll shall be called by the clerk by division, and each division monitor shall report to the clerk how each member participating remotely in their portion of the division responds to their name by announcing the name of the member for whom the member participating remotely votes. Provided, however, that members physically present in the chamber may respond when their name is called by the clerk with the name of the member for whom they vote, and provided further that the clerk shall repeat the name of the member voting and the name of the member for whom that member votes.
Question comes on the adoption of the order. All in favor will say aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The order is adopted. The clerk will call the roll.
In the first Division A, James Arcero. James Arcero votes for Ronald Mariano. David Beal. David Beal votes for Ronald Mariano. Natalie Blay. Natalie Blay votes for Ronald Mariano. Daniel Cahill. Daniel Cahill votes for Ronald Mariano. Linda Dean Campbell. Linda Dean Campbell votes for Ronald Mariano. Peter Capano. Peter Capano votes for Ronald Mariano. Michelle L. Sicolo. Michelle L. Sicolo votes for Ronald Mariano. Edward F. Coppinger. Edward F. Coppinger votes for Ronald Mariano. Michael S. Day. Michael S. Day votes for Ronald Mariano. Marjorie C. Decker. Marjorie C. Decker votes for Ronald Mariano. William J. Driscoll, Jr. William J. Driscoll, Jr. votes for Ronald Mariano. Michelle M. Dubois. Michelle M. Dubois votes for Ronald Mariano. Kenneth I. Gordon. Kenneth I. Gordon votes for Ronald Mariano. Danielle W. Gregoire.
House will be in a brief recess. Clerk will continue to call the roll.
Danielle W. Gregoire. Danielle W. Gregoire votes for Ronald Mariano. Kevin G. Honan.
Ronald Mariano.
Kevin G. Honan votes for Ronald Mariano. Michael P. Kushmerek.
Ronald Mariano.
Michael P. Kushmerek votes for Ronald Mariano. David Paulinski. David Paulinski votes for Ronald Mariano. Stephen Owens.
Ronald Mariano.
Stephen Owens votes for Ronald Mariano. In the First Division B, Kay Khan. Kay Khan votes for Ronald Mariano. John J. Lon Jr. John J. Lon Jr. votes for Ronald Mariano. J.D. Livingstone. J.D. Livingstone votes for Ronald Mariano. Paul McMurtry. Paul McMurtry votes for Ronald Mariano. Aaron Michaelwitz. Aaron Michaelwitz votes for Ronald Mariano. Christina A. Minicucci. Christina A. Minicucci votes for Ronald Mariano. Liz Miranda. Liz Miranda votes for Ronald Mariano. Michael J. Moran. Michael J. Moran votes for Ronald Mariano. Brian W. Murray. Brian W. Murray votes for Ronald Mariano. Trom T. Wynn. Trom T. Wynn votes for Ronald Mariano. Kelly W. Pease. Kelly W. Pease votes for Bradley H. Jones, Jr. Smitty Pignatelli. Smitty Pignatelli votes for Ronald Mariano. David Allen Robertson. David Allen Robertson votes for Ronald Mariano. Jeffrey Enroy. Jeffrey Enroy votes for Ronald Mariano. John Santiago. John Santiago votes for Ronald Mariano. Paul A. Schmid III. Paul A. Schmid III votes for Ronald Mariano. Erica Eiderhoven. Erica Eiderhoven answers present. Bud L. Williams. Bud L. Williams votes for Ronald Mariano. Jonathan D. Zlotnick. Jonathan D. Zlotnick votes for Ronald Mariano. In the second Division A, F.J. Barrows. F.J. Barrows votes for Bradley H. Jones, Jr. Donald R. Berthume, Jr. Donald R. Berthume, Jr. votes for Bradley H. Jones, Jr. Nicholas A. Buldiga. Nicholas A. Buldiga votes for Bradley H. Jr. Daniel R. Carey. Daniel R. Carey votes for Ronald Mariano. Michael Conley. Mike Conley votes for Ronald Mariano. Angelo L. D'Amelia. Angelo L. D'Amelia votes for Bradley H. Jones, Jr. David F. DeCoste. David F. DeCoste votes for Bradley H. Jones, Jr. Kip A. Diggs. Kip A. Diggs votes for Ronald Mariano. Carroll A. Doherty. Carroll A. Doherty votes for Ronald Mariano. Mindy Dom. Mindy Dom votes for Ronald Mariano. Sean Dooley. Sean Dooley votes for Bradley H. Jones, Jr. Peter J. Durant. Peter J. Durant votes for Bradley H. Jones, Jr. Nika C. Elugardo. Nika C. Elugardo votes for Ronald Mariano. Kimberly N. Ferguson. Kimberly N. Ferguson votes for Bradley H. Jones, Jr. Paul K. Frost. Paul K. Frost votes for Bradley H. Jones, Jr. Susan Williams Gifford. Susan Williams Gifford votes for Bradley H. Jones, Jr. Tammy L. Govea. Tammy L. Govea answers present. Sheila C. Harrington. Sheila C. Harrington votes for Bradley H. Jones, Jr. Christopher Hendricks. Christopher Hendricks votes for Ronald Mariano. Bradford Hill. Bradford Hill votes for Bradley H. Jones, Jr. Stephen Howitt. Stephen Howitt votes for Bradley H. Jones, Jr. In the second division, B, Bradley H. Jones, Jr. Bradley H. Jones, Jr. votes for Bradley H. Jones, Jr. Hannah Kane. Hannah Kane votes for Bradley H. Jones, Jr. James M. Kelcourse. James M. Kelcourse votes for Bradley H. Jones, Jr. David Henry Argosky LaBeouf. David Henry Argosky LaBeouf votes for Ronald Mariano. Mark T. Lombardo. Mark T. Lombardo votes for Bradley H. Jones, Jr. Elizabeth Malia. Elizabeth Malia votes for Ronald Mariano. Joseph D. McKenna. Joseph D. McKenna votes for Bradley H. Jones, Jr. Lenny Mira. Lenny Mira votes for Bradley H. Jones, Jr. David K. Meridian, Jr. David K. Meridian, Jr. votes for Bradley H. Jones, Jr. Matthew J. Muraturi. Matthew J. Muraturi votes for Bradley H. Jones, Jr. Norman J. Orwell. Norman J. Orwell votes for Bradley H. Jones, Jr. Adam Scanlon. Adam Scanlon votes for Ronald Mariano. Alan Sylvia. Alan Sylvia votes for Ronald Mariano. Todd M. Smola. Todd M. Smola votes for Bradley H. Jones, Jr. Michael J. Soder. Michael J. Soder votes for Bradley H. Jones, Jr. Allison M. Sullivan. Allison M. Sullivan votes for Bradley H. Jones, Jr. David T. Vieira. David T. Vieira votes for Bradley H. Jones, Jr. Timothy R. Whalen. Timothy R. Whalen votes for Bradley H. Jones, Jr. Susanna M. Whips. Susanna M. Whips votes for Ronald Mariano. David H. Wong, Jr. Donald H. Wong, Jr. Donald H. Wong votes for Bradley H. Jones, Jr. Stephen George Exeros. Stephen George Exeros votes for Bradley H. Jones, Jr. In the 3rd Division A, Bruce J. Ayers. Bruce J. Ayers votes for Ronald Mariano. Ruth B. Balzer. Ruth B. Balzer votes for Ronald Mariano. Taki Chan. Taki Chan votes for Ronald Mariano. Joss S. Cutler. Joss S. Cutler votes for Ronald Mariano. Marcus A. Devers. Marcus A. Devers votes for Ronald Mariano. Carolyn C. Dykema. Carolyn C. Dykema votes for Ronald Mariano. Lori A. Ehrlich. Lori A. Ehrlich votes for Ronald Mariano. Tricia Foley-Bouvier. Tricia Foley-Bouvier votes for Ronald Mariano. Dylan A. Fernandez. Dylan A. Fernandez votes for Ronald Mariano. And Margaret Ferrante. And Margaret Ferrante votes for Ronald Mariano. Michael J. Finn. Michael J. Finn votes for Ronald Mariano. Colleen M. Gary. Colleen M. Gary votes for Ronald Mariano. Carmen L. Gentile. Carmen Lawrence Gentile votes for Ronald Mariano. Carlos Gonzalez. Carlos Gonzalez votes for Ronald Mariano. Patricia A. Haddad. Patricia A. Haddad votes for Ronald Mariano. James K. Hawkins. James K. Hawkins votes for Ronald Mariano. Daniel J. Hunt. Daniel J. Hunt votes for Ronald Mariano. Mary S. Keefe. Mary S. Keefe votes for Ronald Mariano. Kathleen R. Lenatra. Kathleen R. Lenatra votes for Ronald Mariano. Brandy Fluker Oakley. Brandy Fluker Oakley votes for Ronald Mariano. Danilo Sina. Danilo Sina votes for Ronald Mariano. In the 3rd Division B, Rob Consalvo. Rob Consalvo votes for Ronald Mariano. Patricia A. Duffy. Patricia A. Duffy votes for Ronald Mariano. Jessica Ann Giannino. Jessica Ann Giannino votes for Ronald Mariano. Kate Hogan. Kate Hogan votes for Ronald Mariano. Sally P. Cairns. Ronald Mariano. Sally P. Cairns votes for Ronald Mariano. Jack Patrick Lewis. Jack Patrick Lewis votes for Ronald Mariano. Kate Lipper Garabedian. Kate Lipper Garabedian votes for Ronald Mariano. John J. Mahoney. John J. Mahoney votes for Ronald Mariano. Paul W. Mark. Paul W. Mark votes for Ronald Mariano. Christopher M. Markey. Christopher M. Markey votes for Ronald Mariano. Joan Meschino. Joan Meschino votes for Ronald Mariano. Ratty Mom. Ratty Mom votes for Ronald Mariano. James M. Murphy. James M. Murphy votes for Ronald Mariano. Gerald A. Paracella. Gerald A. Paracella votes for Ronald Mariano. Alice Hanlon Peisch. Alice Hanlon Peisch votes for Ronald Mariano. Lindsay N. Sabadosa. Lindsay N. Sabadosa votes for Ronald Mariano. Thomas M. Stanley. Thomas M. Stanley votes for Ronald Mariano. Stephen Altrino. Stephen Altrino votes for Ronald Mariano. Andreas X. Vargas. Andreas X. Vargas votes for Ronald Mariano. Tommy Vitolo. Tommy Vitolo votes for Ronald Mariano. Joseph F. Wagner. Joseph F. Wagner votes for Ronald Mariano. In the 4th Division A, Brian M. Ash. Brian M. Ash votes for Ronald Mariano. Christine P. Barber. Christine P. Barber votes for Ronald Mariano. John Barrett III. John Barrett III votes for Ronald Mariano. Antonio F.D. Cabral. Antonio F.D. Cabral votes for Ronald Mariano. Gerard J. Cassidy. Gerard J. Cassidy votes for Ronald Mariano. Claire D. Cronin. Claire D. Cronin votes for Ronald Mariano. Mark J. Cusack. Mark J. Cusack votes for Ronald Mariano. Daniel M. Donahue. Daniel M. Donahue votes for Ronald Mariano. Paul J. Donato. Paul J. Donato votes for Ronald Mariano. Carroll A. Fiola. Carroll A. Fiola votes for Ronald Mariano. William C. Galvin. William C. Galvin votes for Ronald Mariano. Sean Garbely. Sean Garbely votes for Ronald Mariano. Denise C. Garlick. Denise C. Garlick votes for Ronald Mariano. Thomas A. Golden Jr. Thomas A. Golden Jr. votes for Ronald Mariano. Richard M. Haggerty. Richard M. Haggerty votes for Ronald Mariano. Natalie M. Higgins. Natalie M. Higgins votes for Ronald Mariano. Russell E. Holmes. Russell E. Holmes votes for Ronald Mariano. Frank A. Moran. Frank A. Moran votes for Ronald Mariano. David M. Rogers. David M. Rogers votes for Ronald Mariano. John H. Rogers. John H. Rogers votes for Ronald Mariano. In the 4th Division B, Vanna Howard. Vanna Howard. Vanna Howard votes for Ronald Mariano. Patrick Joseph Kearney. Patrick Joseph Kearney votes for Ronald Mariano. Megan Kilcoyne. Megan Kilcoyne votes for Ronald Mariano. Adrian C. Madro. Adrian C. Madro votes for Ronald Mariano. Ronald Mariano. Ronald Mariano votes for Ronald Mariano. Joseph W. McGonigal, Jr. Joseph W. McGonigal, Jr. votes for Ronald Mariano. James J. O'Day. James J. O'Day votes for Ronald Mariano. Jacob R. Oliveira. Jacob R. Oliveira votes for Ronald Mariano. Sarah K. Peak. Sarah K. Peak votes for Ronald Mariano. Ted Phillips. Ted Phillips votes for Ronald Mariano. Angelo J. Pupolo, Jr. Angelo J. Pupolo, Jr. votes for Ronald Mariano. Orlando Ramos. Orlando Ramos votes for Ronald Mariano. Maria Duemi Robinson. Maria Duemi Robinson votes for Ronald Mariano. Daniel J. Ryan. Daniel J. Ryan votes for Ronald Mariano. William M. Strauss. William M. Strauss votes for Ronald Mariano. Paul F. Tucker. Paul F. Tucker votes for Ronald Mariano. China Tyler. China Tyler votes for Ronald Mariano. Thomas P. Walsh. House will be in a brief recess.
The House will be in a brief recess.
Thomas P. Walsh had voted for Ronald Mariano.
House will come to order. Hold on one second. House will come to order. The clerk has finished tabulating the votes. Whole number cast, 157. Necessary for a choice, 79. Brad Jones had 30. Ron Mariano had 127. Therefore, Mr. Mariano of Quincy is declared elected. Miss Peak of Provincetown offers an order which the clerk will read.
Ordered that a special committee be appointed to escort Speaker Ronald Mariano of Quincy to the chamber under escort of the Sergeant at Arms.
Question comes on adoption of the order. All those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it. The order is adopted. I'm going to appoint a special committee to escort the Speaker to the chair. And I'm going to ask them to come down to the well, adhering to social distancing rules. Rep. Moran of Brighton, Rep. Michael Witz of the North End, Rep. Wagner of Chicopee, Rep. Golden of Lowell, Rep. Cronin of Easton, Rep. Gonzalez of Springfield, Rep. Peak of Provincetown, Rep. Donato of Medford, Rep. Cusick of Braintree, Rep. Jones of North Reading, Rep. Kane of Shrewsbury, Rep. Frost of Auburn, Rep. Miranda of Roxbury, Rep. Foley Bouvier of Pittsfield, Rep. Mahoney of Worcester, and Rep. Hunt of Dorchester. Rep. Cabral from New Bedford. The Sergeant at Arms will escort the delegation to the Speaker. Thanks, Tim. Yep. The chair recognizes the Sergeant at Arms. Admit the honorable committee. Chair recognizes Mr. Moran of Brighton.
We have found Speaker Mariano. He's in good health and ready to get this session underway. Thank you, Mr. Dean.
Thank you. I want to commend you, Mr. Moran, and your wonderful delegation for the work that you've done today. The committee is dismissed. Please admit Ronald Mariano, the newly elected Speaker of the House.
That's to wake up the folks who were in here till 5 o'clock this morning. I can't believe that I'm here right now. But before we get into any of my remarks, I want to welcome the new folks who are here for the first time and who have campaigned through a pandemic which created difficulties I can't imagine, being an old school Paul who only knows how to go door to door. I don't know how you guys did it. But for that, for those folks who have weathered this pandemic in different ways, I think it would be appropriate for us to just take a moment of silence for the 12,000 residents of, over 12,000 residents of Massachusetts who have died from COVID-19. So I ask that you'd all rise for a moment of silence. Thank you. Thank you. I also want to recognize this is a special day for our Hispanic friends, Three Kings Day, and for all the folks in the audience, I wish you a happy Three Kings Day. Seems like I was only here yesterday doing this, and it was pretty much yesterday. Last week, when I addressed this body for the first time as Speaker, I recognized the careers and contributions of 16 departing members of the House. Today, I welcome a new class of state representatives sent to this historic chamber to advocate for their communities. Just as last week, today's swearing in looks very different from the House's traditional ceremony. A small consequence of the current public health crisis. But we've made every effort to ensure that the incoming class can be physically present for this milestone. And I want to thank the minority leaders for his cooperation and help in making this happen. I remember thinking when I was first sworn in of this long journey it took me to arrive here from Quincy Point, not in terms of physical distance, but of social and generational progress. The shipyards and heavy industry of the Fall River Basin have for generations attracted immigrants seeking new opportunities in America. From my grandfather's Italy to today's newcomers from across Asia. Quincy Point is a home of immigrants, and it's one of the environmental justice communities which were named in the recent bill that we just did. Our diversity is our strength, and it is celebrated. My district speaks more languages than I even knew existed. As a school committee member, I went into an elementary school and found out that there were 51 languages represented in that school. I didn't know there were 51 different languages. My constituents worship at churches, mosques, and I have a Buddhist temple throughout my neighborhood. In short, I grew up and live in a place that looks a lot like Massachusetts and America as a whole. Each session, we get closer and closer to a body that is more representative of all the people in Massachusetts. I'm proud to see that progress continues with this incoming class of state representatives. And I pledge that my leadership team will reflect that growing diversity of the body. This representation matters as we continue to respond to the pandemic and build a recovery. The legislature's task is to make large-scale decisions touching every aspect of our society. We see through a wide lens and act with a long-term vision. We make difficult decisions on how to allocate limited resources, both in time and in dollars. Our job is a deliberative one. It's a balancing act that makes each of our voices important, and it's why open dialogue and relationships are so critical to our work here. We have a lot of work ahead of us. As I said last week, for those of you who are lucky enough to catch the preview, we find ourselves in a moment of reckoning. And before we can build a stronger Massachusetts, we must first meet the basic needs of each resident during this time of crisis. Our ongoing task is to monitor and support the state's vaccine distribution plan, which is now being implemented after rigorous analysis and input from the public health community. We must ensure that our constituents have confidence in the vaccine and that it is distributed equitably. We must ensure that our small businesses, especially our restaurants, are getting enough support to weather these hard times. We must make sure that people who are out of work are given the benefits they need, and that the unemployment rate isn't worsened by crushing labor costs on employers. People out of work need our help and support now. Our strong eviction and foreclosure moratorium expired after a federal judge suggested extending it would be unconstitutional. We have to make sure our eviction diversion program is doing enough to keep people in their homes. We must support teachers, students, and their families during remote learning. And we need to get students back into the classroom. But when they do, we need to make sure they are prepared in that grade level. And if they're not, we have to provide the support systems to make sure they get there as quickly as possible. These are just some of the challenges that we now face together in the House of Representatives. And with our partners in the Senate, in this 192nd session of the General Court, challenges are not new, And we've faced many over our long history. But our task is to meet the difficult ones we face today and will face, and know we are up to that task. So thank you. Congratulations to all the new members, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you. Thank you. House will be in a brief recess. House will come to order. For what purpose the gentleman rise? Thank you. This question comes on the adoption of the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. I was going to let one go. The remarks will be spread across the records.
On my behalf.
Question comes on the adoption of the motion. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The statement of the motion passes, and the motion passes, and the message will be electronically sent to the clerk. Chair recognizes Mr. Wagner from Chicopee. Question comes on that motion. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Congratulations, Stephen. Mr. Clerk. The body may be seated. We will swear in the clerk. Whereas you, Stephen T. James, are chosen clerk of the House of Representatives of the General Court of Massachusetts, you do swear that you will truly enter all votes and orders thereof, and that in all things relating to your office, you will act faithfully and impartially according to your best skill and judgment. So help you God. Congratulations, Mr. Clerk. Also come to order, communication from the clerk.
House of Representatives, Office of the Clerk of the House, State House, Boston, the Honorable Ronald Mariano, Speaker of the House, dated January 6, 2021. Dear Mr. Speaker, I have the honor to inform you that I have appointed Timothy Carroll of Hull as Assistant Clerk of the House and Elizabeth M. Thompson of Clinton as Second Assistant Clerk of the House. Respectfully, Stephen T. James, Clerk of the House.
The chair will extend their true congratulations to Tim and Betsy. the folks who do all the work. And if I may, just as a note for those folks who are listening or watching on some sort of venue, these folks were at their posts till well into the morning and certainly deserve whatever recognition we can give them because it's not easy. It's not easy. House will be in a brief recess. Do I have to say there's an order in the hands of the clerk? Mr. Wagner offers an order in the hands of the clerk. The clerk will read the order.
Ordered that the clerk be directed to inform His Excellency the Governor and the Council that the House of Representatives has been organized by the election of a Speaker and Clerk.
Question comes on the adoption of the order. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The order is adopted. Mr. Donato of Medford, who is here and upright after 15 hours in the chair, offers an order in the hands of the clerk.
Ordered that the clerk be directed to inform the Senate that the House of Representatives has been organized by the election of a Speaker and a Clerk.
Question comes on the adoption of the order. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The order is adopted. Representative Jones of North Reading offers an order in the hands of the clerk.
Ordered that the clerk begin the keeping of and making available daily in a format determined by the Speaker in consultation with the clerk of the Journal, as authorized by House Rule 10, and that the daily reading thereof be dispensed with, and that under the authority of Section 22A of Chapter 3 of the General Laws, copies of the Journal for the entire session be printed and bound with the customary appendices and an index, and that the attested bound copy be deposited with the Secretary of the Commonwealth as the official journal of the House.
Question comes on the adoption of the order. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The order is adopted. Mr. Golden of Lowell offers an order in the hands of the clerk.
Ordered that the rules of the House of Representatives for the 191st General Court be observed so far as they are applicable until the rules shall be adopted by the present House.
Question comes on the adoption of the order. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The order is adopted. Representative Miranda of Boston offers an order in the hands of the clerk.
Ordered that the emergency rules of the House of Representatives of the 191st General Court be observed so far as they are applicable until emergency rules shall be adopted by the present House.
Question comes on the adoption of the order. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? No. No. The ayes have it. The order is adopted. The House will be in a brief recess. House will come to order. The chair would like to announce that there are two pending matters of business that we are waiting from the Senate that would not require all the members of the House of Representatives to be here. So you may use that information as you please in any way you want. House will be in a recess. If I could have the attention of the members, we're in the process of drawing up a couple of orders. It would not be long, so I would ask you to keep the well clear while we try and. No, you don't have to. I'll leave, but you just stay on the other side of the rope. That's all. That's all. So we're going to try and get these orders up and out. House will come to order. Representative Gonzalez of Springfield offers an order in the hands of the clerk.
Ordered that the joint rules of the 191st General Court shall be the temporary joint rules of the 192nd General Court, provided, however, that Joint Rule 12 be amended in line 511 by striking out the words third Friday in January and inserting in place of the words third Friday in February.
Question comes on the adoption of the order. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? No. The ayes have it. The order is adopted. Representative Frost of Auburn offers an amendment, a order in the hands of the clerk. Clerk will read the order.
Ordered that a convention of the two houses be held at 12 o'clock noon on Thursday, January 7, 2021, for the purpose of administering the oaths of office to the several councilors-elect.
Question comes on the adoption of the order. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? No. The ayes have it. The order is adopted. Mr. Mahoney of Worcester offers an order in the hands of the clerk.
Order that when the House adjourns today and adjourn to meet tomorrow at a quarter before 12 o'clock noon.
Question comes on the adoption of the order. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The order is adopted. The House, Mr. Frost of Auburn moves, and now the House will adjourn until the hour of 11:45 tomorrow. Question comes on that motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The House stands adjourned to meet at 11:45 tomorrow in an informal session. Get the hell out of here.